Welcome to our presentation. This special online travelogue has been produced and is being presented by the full-time travel professionals of Please Go Away Vacations. Our presentation this evening is going to be New York City, its theater, and more. The dates of the trip are June the 6th through the 10th of 2019. It is cooperatively being offered by Emporia State University and Please Go Away Vacations. We are celebrating our 53rd year of being in business this year, and we're very happy to be working with the university. As part of their travel program on this exciting trip, you're going to have several people who are along to enjoy the trip with you and to answer questions and see everything that New York has to offer. You're going to be hosted by President Allison Garrett, as well as Don and Linda Miller. All three of those will be representing Emporia State University. In addition to your Emporia State University hosts, you're going to have your Please Go Away Vacations host, Mary Rickey. She's real excited to be going to New York with you. She's been with us now for several months and has taken several groups and has enjoyed meeting some new people and getting to know some others better that she has met on occasion. So Mary as well will be with you. Larry, would you like to get us started and kind of tell everyone about some of the exciting things that they have to look forward to?
Thank you, Paula. I'd be delighted to. Hello, everybody. We want to say thank you for going away with Please Go Away Vacations. We know that you have a choice when you make a selection on travel, and we feel honored and humbled when you give us the opportunity to serve you. You're going to actually be experiencing my second most favorite city in the world. You see here the lower part of Manhattan Island. You will be in the very center of the island of Manhattan, or as we refer to in the industry, the city center of the Big Apple. So moving right along, what we would like to do is to try to give you a bit of an overview quickly of what you're going to be doing. And when you go to New York to experience New York in depth, location, location, location is an absolute necessity. Many programs stay on the outskirts of New York. Some even stay over in New Jersey, and they say they're having a New York City experience. But by contrast, you will be staying at the lovely Intercontinental Hotel shown here on the right-hand side, and it is literally in the heart of the city. I don't know whether you can look down that street, but on the left-hand side, you can see the Majestic Theater, the St. James Theater. Those are main theaters of Broadway. Just beyond the St. James sign, in the far distance, there's a green sign. It's a bit small, but it is Sardi's. That's where you're going to be enjoying one of your included dining experiences of the Big Apple. Literally, ladies and gentlemen, within steps of the front door of your hotel, you are going to be able to walk, experience, and take in the sensations and the vibrations of the most majestic city I think we have in the United States. So moving right along, having observed the location, you're also within 2 blocks of Times Square. And of course, Times Square is the meeting place of the world, and you certainly will go down there. It's probably just a half block from one of your dining experiences. So it's going to be a neat area to walk through, to experience, and to reminisce about what you see on New Year's Eve with the ball dropping from the Times building in the far right-hand corner of this picture. Moving along quickly, Paula, if we can, I want to show the folks just how they are located and what the superb location is. This is a New York theater map and hotel location. You can see the figure pointing toward number 23. That is your hotel. It is within easy walking distance of all of those red dots, which are all theaters of Broadway in New York City. Also in the upper right-hand corner, you'll notice Top of the Rock in blue. That is the heart of Rockefeller Center, easily walkable from your front door. And really, when you're in New York City, the best way to get around for the most part, with several exceptions that we have included for you to enjoy. Walking is the absolute best way to get around and experience New York City and what it has to offer. I mentioned Rockefeller Center. This is what you normally see in the wintertime as an ice rink, but during the time of year that you will be there, it is actually a dining tea garden, and you'll want to walk around that. You will walk around that. Mary will take you to all of these areas. Just to the upper right-hand corner, outside the scope of this picture, is the Today Show Pavilion, and just off to your left would be the Channel Gardens. But here you see the Today Show. These are some of the pictures of people that we've taken in the past. We've had members of our tour groups interviewed by members of the cast. So put yourself in position if this is something you desire to do. And it can be a bit crowded, but it is an experience and certainly adds to the flavor of New York City. I mentioned just off to the left-hand side of that picture of Rockefeller Center, the skating rink, were the Channel Gardens. And I'm not going to tell you why they're called the Channel Gardens, but I hope that Mary will ask that as a trivia question. And this is what you normally see during the Christmas time, decorated by the heralding angels. It leads right up to the Rockefeller Center building, the GE building, more particularly described the top of the rock, things of this nature. Just over your shoulder, if you were standing taking this picture, on your right-hand shoulder, you could turn around, and just across the street, you would see St. Patrick's Cathedral. And you will be able to walk over to St. Patrick's Cathedral. I think we have a picture of it coming up here for you. Or here, this is the winter scene that I was referring to with the heralding angels, and you can see the Christmas tree in the background. You're going to be right there where it is all taking place in what we normally have seen on television. I mentioned St. Patrick's Cathedral. You will be able to walk over to it, get into it, and it is quite an experience regardless of what your religious affiliation is. It's an important icon of New York City, and you will be there. The interior of St. Patrick's Cathedral is large. It's where we probably have seen on many occasions midnight mass broadcast over television, but it's also an experience that you will be adding. And then if you go right outside the front door of St. Patrick's Cathedral, and you can see it there in the background, you can look across the street to this building in the foreground here, and you are at Saks Fifth Avenue. And you're on Fifth Avenue here, the site of the Easter Parade. Certainly, if you want to walk through Saks Fifth Avenue, it's no way to keep a group together, but if you want to go in there on your own time, you're within easy walking distance, or if you want to stay behind and find your way back to the hotel, that's certainly something you will be able to do as well. You will go to the top of the rock while you're there, but of course, one could not actually say they've experienced New York City unless they see the Empire State Building, and we do not go up the Empire State Building for obvious reasons. You can spend a half day in line or more trying to get to the top of the Empire State Building, but you will see it. It is an icon of the skyline of the city, and you will be able to say that you have seen the Empire State Building. Radio City Music Hall. This is an interesting situation because it is the world's largest movie theater. It's also the scene of the famous Rockettes, the holiday Christmas shows they put on. And while you are in New York City, it's also going to be the venue where the Emmy Awards are hosted and broadcast nationally. Now, the Emmy Awards are to Broadway shows and theater exactly what the Oscars are to Hollywood movies and actors. And we'll get more into the Emmy Awards and why you are really, and I'm going to speak in the vernacular here, you're going to be in tall cotton when you take in your included reserved Broadway theater performances. And we'll talk about that in just a minute. Your hotel breakfast is included daily, as are the gratuities for that. That's an exception that most other tours do not include, but we find that it's a great way to start the day, and it also is a more relaxing way to start the day. So right in the Hotel Intercontinental, you will have your breakfast included daily before you start your daily activities. It's a nice venue. You're going to enjoy your hotel, It's very neat and clean and lovely on the inside, as well as having that superb location that we've talked about previously. I mentioned Sardi's. This is like within a block and a half of your hotel, and you're going to have dining experiences when you are in New York City, and certainly Sardi's is one of them. Sardi's, incidentally, is where the Emmy Awards were created. You quite often will see the elite of Broadway in the form of actors, producers, directors, things of this nature, eating maybe at the next table to you, maybe not. But if you don't see the famous characters alive when you're in there, you will see them in the form of Sardi's famous caricatures. Over, I think it's 1,800 caricatures line the walls of Sardi's, and you can see Lucille Ball in the upper right-hand corner of this particular slide, Yul Brynner in the upper left-hand corner, and on and on. You will recognize many of them. It all started by an individual drawing for the owner of the original Sardi's, a drawing or a caricature that he traded for lunch daily at Sardi's. It's quite a historic area, and it is a dining experience. Another dining experience that you're going to have, also right very near where Sardi's is Carmine's. Now, Carmine's is probably the most popular Italian restaurant in all of New York City, and you are going to enjoy an included lunch there, which is going to be served in family-style dining. I guarantee you should try something of everything, and you will not be able to eat everything that is presented to you. Now, they will offer you one of two things when you are through for any food that is left over. They will box it up for you individually, or they will keep it, or they will put it in large individual containers that they will then put in sacks, so that we have had some groups in the past want to give it to the poor on the street, and so they'd go maybe to a nearby shelter or something like that. It's entirely up to you. We're not saying what you should do. We're just saying you won't be able to eat everything that you are served at that time. The restaurant itself cannot serve the needy themselves in New York City, but they certainly don't mind you doing so if you want. I personally have taken some sacks down into the subway area, which is right by, and I just leave the sack behind. It's a little bit harder to do nowadays because they might think you're leaving a bomb behind, so I would not recommend that. But anyway, it's a neat experience and going to be a fine dining experience of fine Italian food. You're also going to be treated to what we call a Please Go Away included feature. We don't think you can go to New York City without enjoying the famous cheesecake of New York City. And so at an appropriate time, you will be the guest of Mary, and you will be treated to, at Roxy's, which is a famous place to have cheesecake in New York City, a piece of New York cheesecake, and it's not like the little finger sizes that we get here. It's more like what you would serve in the form of a sixth of a pie. They're huge pieces. Sometimes people will claim that that's their evening meal, but whatever, it's going to be another dining experience indicative of the characteristics of New York City. And that's what we want you to have. We want you to have the behind-the-scenes experiences, the real experiences of the Big Apple when you are there. We mentioned the Top of the Rock. You will be going to the Top of the Rock. And the Top of the Rock is often referred to in the Today Show because it's also in the same building where the Today Show is produced. And when you are at the Top of the Rock, this is looking generally toward the upper portion of Manhattan Island. This is Central Park, the green in the greenery that you see in the center. The Upper West Side that you hear about is over to the left-hand side, those buildings. Strawberry Fields of the Lennons and where John Lennon was assassinated, that's all over to the left in Upper West Side. The river that you see in the background off to the upper left-hand corner is actually, in fact, the Hudson River, And then we'll also see another river that forms the island aspect of Manhattan Island in another slide that we have here in just a minute. But this is one view. This now is a view from the top of the rock looking south. And you can see the Empire State Building there in the center. The Verrazano Narrows is there where you are going through the Hudson River out to the Atlantic Ocean. And it gives you a perspective that is sort of hard to appreciate from the ground, but will create a memory in your mind's eye that you will not be able to forget. The Freedom Tower, of course, is 1,776 feet tall, and you're going to be in the area of the Freedom Tower, and you will be going to the 9/11 Museum when you are there. The 9/11 Museum is commemorative of that tragedy that happened on 9/11, and you will have admission to this museum, and you will be allowed to have as much time there as you want. There will be a recommended time, but if you want to stay beyond the allotted time, that's very easy for you to do, and it's very easy for you to find your way on your own back to the hotel if this is something that you want to do. But it's going to be a sobering experience, but we all saw it happen on television, and you will be there to see the commemoration that has taken place. The Brooklyn Bridge, you're actually going to sail underneath the Brooklyn Bridge as you go up the river. And I mentioned that we would see another river. This is the infamous East River. Right over there on the other side, far distance of the bridge, is Brooklyn. And you will be cruising, this is on the east side of Manhattan Island. You'll be cruising around the tip of Manhattan Island, and you will be going up the west side of Manhattan Island in the Hudson River. It gives you a different perspective than you can have in any other way from viewing New York City. You actually get outstanding and better views from the cruise, such as you see here, of the famous lady of the Statue of Liberty. When you are on Liberty Island itself, you're standing too close, basically, to get very good pictures of the Statue of Liberty. So we prefer the cruise. It gives you the opportunity to get an overview of the surroundings and have dramatic opportunities to take pictures like this if you desire. New York subways are an institution in and of themselves, and we will provide you with the opportunity to join Mary, our hostess, along with an alumnus of New York City that is engaged in the theater of New York City that will be your personal host for a day. We've arranged for him to accompany you on the subway. He's lived there for a number of years. He's looking forward to renewing the Hornet connection because he's maintained a position of the Hornet Nation, and that's going to be a real plus. You go down stairways like this, and then when you get down there, you will be riding train cars similar to this. And it's a wonderful way. In fact, it's absolutely the best way to get around New York City. Take it a step at a time. You will be in good care and custody, and it will be an experience that you will really enjoy, and you will be whisked away to places that you would otherwise not be able to experience because they're too far to walk. And so this is what we were referring to earlier. Moving right along, Paula, please. Street corner vendors are going to be everywhere in New York. The aroma is something that else, and you'll see there that they have large pretzels, hot pretzels, warm pretzels, things of this nature. If you're so inclined, have some ready cash. It costs a couple dollars, something like that. You can get yourself a soft drink there, whatever you want. But it's a New York experience, and again, it's not the fine dining experience that you will have had at Carmine's and/or Sardi's, or even at Roxy's for your cheesecake. But it is a New York experience, and truly, I think you're going to New York City to experience New York City. Now, every time I go to New York City, I buy a couple of these pretzels, and I take a couple of napkins from the vendor, and I put them in my hand, and I asked the vendor to allow me to put mustard on the napkin, and then we tear apart these pretzels. And the traditional way to eat a New York pretzel like this is to dip it in mustard. Try it. You'll either like it or you won't. Take a small bite first. If you like it, go back for more. It's a neat experience, and Mary Ricky will be hosting you to this. It's certainly not something that you would think would be included as a bonus, but it's an experience. And again, that's what you're going to New York City for. You will be at the New York Stock Exchange. You will not go inside the New York Stock Exchange. Years ago, we were able to do that, but post 9/11, that's an absolute no-no. You will get views such as this right here from the front, and it will be a neat experience. Wall Street Exchange is worldwide famous, and standing right behind the person taking this picture would be the statue of George Washington, where he delivered his inaugural address right within eyesight of what you're seeing right here. Another famous building within steps of the New York Stock Exchange is Trinity Church. And when you are there, we want you to go inside Trinity Church. And as you enter the front door, there is a plaque in the flooring of the entranceway. And we want you to read what the plaque says, turn around, and see the same view that the person had that was standing on that commemorative plaque when she was able to see the view that you are seeing. It's quite an experience, and Trinity Church is famous, very near to 9/11 disasters. In fact, there's some evidence of the destruction that took place commemorated at Trinity Church. Also, Trinity Church Graveyard is probably among the most famous, historically speaking, in the United States. This is the graveyard tombstone and vault, if you please, of Alexander Hamilton, of fame for the Foundation and Treasury Department of the United States. Also, it's the home resting place of the inventor of the steam engine. And so you'll have enough opportunity to walk through the cemetery and have history come alive to you as you do that very commemorative thing. Speaking of commemoration, I mentioned something that would be there at Trinity Church. It's the Trinity Church 9/11 Memorial. That is the tree root system of a tree that was blown over by the blast in the yard of the church at 9/11. What they did is they had a casting made of the root, and they memorialized the disaster of 9/11. It was in this church and another church that some of the firefighters came to rest. You might even see boot marks still on the pews of the church where they slept, caught a bit of sleep in between their struggle with what they were fighting with the disaster of 9/11. The famous Wall Street Bull. This is a better picture than you will ever get when you are there, because 99% of the time that bull is going to be surrounded by hundreds of people touching it, taking pictures of it, and things like that. Be patient if you like, and you can get some good views of the Wall Street Bull, and it's certainly an area commemorative of your visit to Wall Street. Now, the included shows that you are going to be viewing are two, and Paula works very closely with an inside contact that she has developed over the years with the New York Theater, and we always rely upon this individual to give us a heads up on shows that are in the running for Emmy nominations. Tootsie, you will be receiving, and probably will have received by the time you're seeing this video, a memo from our office listing the numerous Emmy Awards Tootsie has been nominated for. Now remember, I said while you're there, the nominations will turn into actual awards, but this is indicative of the quality of your Broadway performance that you're going to see. But not only does it take place with Tootsie, but your next Broadway performance is also of the same caliber. Ain't Too Proud, The Life and Times of the Temptations. It has an almost equal number of Emmy nominations, as does Tootsie. So ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to be with you on this trip. I love Broadway theater, and these are going to be two outstanding shows, at least according to the critics, and we hope you enjoy as well. Now, Paula, I think this is probably a time when the folks would like to learn a little bit about the nuts and bolts of the travel documents and experience. So let me hand it back to you, please.
Okay, thank you, Larry. We're working on documents and have those nearly completed to get mailed out to everyone in the next day or perhaps 2 days at the most. And in that, everyone is going to receive a personalized luggage tag. This is showing you kind of how to place that around the handle of your large piece of luggage. Each person is allowed to take and have handled for them in and out of the hotel one large piece of checked luggage. Now, you are going to pay the airline when you check in or at the airport, both going and returning. And so you'll want to attach this personalized luggage tag before you leave home. That's very important so that your name is on there, and when it gets to the hotel has a name so that they can get that taken up to your accommodations. Another thing that you're going to be receiving in that document packet is going to be our bright green stickers. The bright green stickers have a different use, but again, you should attach this prior to leaving home. This is the way that it's going to be attached. You're going to put it around the handle of that large piece of luggage so that when you arrive in New York and a SkyCap is there to help gather luggage to get it off of the airline luggage carousel, that's how Mary can tell him which pieces of luggage to look for, and so that it's easily identified is by the bright green sticker. That helps everyone, even you, because so many pieces of luggage do look the same. You're going to receive several of these, and we do recommend that you place them not only on your large piece, but also on your hand luggage. On your hand luggage, it's not so much to be identified by a SkyCap, because as hand luggage, you are going to be handling it. But in the event that you leave it set somewhere, or perhaps you see one that's sitting unattended when you're in a hotel lobby or airport restaurant or something, you can call attention to it so that perhaps it'll be reunited with its owner. Likewise, a lot of people put them on camera bags, briefcases, some ladies do purses, anything that you'd like to put it on there that maybe you would leave set so that it can be identified can be very helpful. Here is a piece of luggage, and while the luggage tags are a little bit different, you'll have, most people do have, like the red one there, you'll have something that has your name and your address. The green sticker, again, it shows you how to put that on there. And then you'll have a luggage tag that's laminated that will have a similar attachment to hold it on, such as the Colette tag. It is important that you put those on there. Another thing I notice here is the bag does have a padlock, and a lot of people are, again, using those. And you can do that. The airline does allow you to put a lock on as long as it is a TSA approved lock. And the way that you can tell if it's a TSA approved lock is look at it, and you'll notice on this one there's kind of a little red flowery looking logo for TSA approved. If it does not have that, it will be drilled off and ruined and removed for you. So if you go to use a lock, do be sure that it's TSA approved. An important thing that people always ask And rules do sometimes change, so it's good to always be aware. But the luggage restrictions for this tour, the one piece of large luggage, and for the airline, they do want you to have a piece of luggage that does not exceed 62 inches. And the way you get that is to measure one time the height, the length, and the width. Add those three together. Now, they don't count the wheels and they don't count the handle in that measurement, and that would be your 62 inches. Of equal importance is going to be the 50-pound rule. It cannot exceed 50 pounds. In the event that it weighs more than 50 pounds or it is larger than the 62 inches, instead of the $30 for check luggage each direction, the airline will charge you overage fees, which I have seen people come home actually from New York. They had shopped along the streets and in some of the nice shops, and they were 3 pounds overweight and paid almost $100. So you do want to be aware when you're getting your suitcase packed and have lots of room left so you can bring your purchases home. The large piece of luggage on the right-hand side is a bag that is 62 inches, so that would be the largest. Many times travelers are able on a trip this length to travel with the 20-inch pull bag that's in the middle as their main bag. You can save some money if you want to just put that in the overhead on the plane and not check it, or even just traveling light. If you still want to check it, that's fine. The smaller one is a carry-on bag as well, so that you could have that with you for prescriptions or anything that you need to keep with you, and not take a chance that the airline perhaps would lose your bag. But those are just some examples of some different kinds of bags. I know nowadays there are, like the smaller one on the left, that actually have a pull handle, a lot smaller, so it does easily fit in the overhead of the planes or underneath the seat, because you are allowed, in addition to the checked bag that you pay for, you are allowed to take on 2 items onto the plane. You can take on a personal item as well as a larger piece to go in the overhead. So one overhead piece, and then the second one must go under the seat in front of you. As I mentioned, rollers are really nice, and you won't be changing planes. You're lucky enough to have direct flights, but when you land in New York, you obviously have to go and claim large luggage and get to a shuttle that takes you to the hotel. So anytime that you can have bags with rollers for carry-ons, you won't really be handling your large piece, but the rollers are always nice to kind of help you get through airports and even into hotels and things of that nature. You'll have some days that you're going to be out and about exploring New York, either with the group or maybe doing some things on your own. It's always good to have maybe a rain jacket, an umbrella, any medications, of course your cameras, and anything like that that you would need during the day. It's very helpful if you have maybe a smaller bag, and I sometimes will tuck a smaller, either a backpack or a smaller bag in the side of my larger suitcase so that I can pull that out for daytime use. A backpack is very handy to have with you to take the things that you need for those day trips. You could have a smaller little zipper bag, such as you see on the right-hand side, that you could have your money, credit cards, and anything that you would need, and you could tuck that safely down in the bottom of that backpack and be set to sightsee throughout the day. The 3-1-1 rule, I've mentioned that you can take a carry-on bag and a personal item. And in those things that you're carrying on, or in the event that you decide to just take a carry-on bag, and so whatever you're taking onto the plane with you, you do have to be very aware of the 3-1-1 rule. And you are only allowed to take on liquids or gels that are in containers that are 3 ounces or smaller. That doesn't mean that you can't take a 4-ounce tube of toothpaste or a 6-ounce bottle of shampoo or something like that. It strictly means that you must put those into your checked luggage. If you try to carry those on, they will be taken away from you. And it's not what you think is left in that tube or bottle, it's whatever size it indicates that it will hold. So 3-ounce containers in a 1-quart bag and one per person. You normally will have to take that out of your carry-on bag and put it in a separate bin as you go through security. So do be sure that you have all those things together. So just briefly, some random things that we want to be sure that you're aware of. Even though you will be in the United States, it's a good idea to go online or call your credit card company and tell them that you're going to be traveling and where you're going to be. Sometimes they question if you're somewhere different or you're making some charges that are a little out of the ordinary for you. So it's always safer if you plan to do a lot by credit card that you do contact them prior. In the States, as you'll be on this trip, pretty much you can use all the various credit cards. So whether you have Visa, MasterCard, American Express, Discover, they're going to all be widely accepted in New York. As far as the passport shown here, you do not need a passport for this tour. Obviously, you're going to be within the United States throughout the tour, with the exception. If you gave us the name, your legal name, as it matches the passport, then you should take your passport. If the name that you provided matches your driver's license, then that's perfectly fine. You can plan to travel with your driver's license. But it is very important that the name we issued your airline ticket with matches the name of whichever identification you're going to use. Temperatures are always kind of a hard thing to plan for. It could be very warm in New York. We wouldn't expect it to be excessive, but you need to plan for hot days. You need to plan for cool evenings. You do need to plan for rain because we never know when those things are coming. An umbrella or rain jacket that you could slip on, something with a hood. I know that a lot of people get at the dollar store a little dollar fold-up rain cape that it folds up into a tiny, tiny little pouch, and you can stick that just about anywhere and pull it out when you need it. I would suggest that you take an umbrella if that's what you like to use, because I can tell you from past experience, should it start to rain, there will be a salesman with a bunch of umbrellas on every corner of New York, and the prices to have to buy one of those is usually very expensive. So I would take one with me so that I weren't having to do that. Gratuities is something that a lot of people question. You will have breakfast, and Larry went over some really nice meals as well as the fun time to experience the cheesecake. Meals such as those and the cheesecake, the gratuity is going to be included in those included meals. Likewise, luggage handling in and out of the hotel, that also will be included. So those are things that you don't need to be concerned about. When you have a step-on guide is one that's always a question, and you will have a step-on guide when you do the all-day city tour that goes really all over New York, uptown, downtown, Harlem, and just all of the boroughs that you always hear about. That guide is a person who does, in addition to whatever they're getting paid, they do expect a gratuity. And do keep in mind that this is New York and you have them for all day. So, I guess if you're wanting a recommendation as to what would be appropriate, I would say probably if they do a good job, which I can't imagine they wouldn't, but your level of satisfaction, $4 a person for the length of time that you would have them would certainly be appropriate. And again, we don't, we're not telling you you have to do that, but that's a question that people often ask is, well, what should we give? So we're just kind of giving you some guidelines. Unlike other tour companies, your personal hostess from Please Go Away Vacations, as well as your Emporia hosts and hostesses, do not expect, nor will they accept, a gratuity. Other tour companies, again, will expect $4 or $5 a person a day, so that can add up considerably, but that's not something. Our guides are professionals, and they're doing nice things for you so that they hope that you will come back and travel with us again, or tell your friends and recommend us, but they're not doing it so that they perhaps get a gratuity at the end. You don't have to worry about exchanging money, which makes it really easy, and no electrical conversions or adapters necessary. So again, that kind of takes a lot of those concerns out because it's going to be your normal things you're used to. Clothing is something that's very important and another question that people are always concerned about. So first, let's talk about going to the Broadway plays. We've mentioned that you're going to a couple of top Broadway plays, and it is not necessary that you dress up. You are going to see a little bit of everything. You're going to see some people dressed really, really nice. You'll probably see some people that maybe even have on blue jeans. Not something I would ever do just because it is nice. Larry did mention that the awards will be going on actually at the time you're in New York. So I guess I'm thinking that people, maybe there will be some well-known people out and about and attending some of these plays. Not that you have to dress up. I would wear a nice slack outfit, or guys, maybe a pair of Dockers and a nice shirt. If it's cool, you may want to wear a sport coat, not because you need a sport coat, but just for the warmth of it, should it be cool when you're there. Certainly no need to wear dresses or suits or anything of that nature. You're also going to be going to Sardi's and to Carmine's, as Larry mentioned, both very nice, well-known, popular places. And as nice as they are, there is not a dress code. And again, there's no need that you have to worry about dressing up to go to any of those places for those meals. So especially on Carmine's at lunch, you're going to be out seeing some of the city and have lunch and be back out seeing some more sights that afternoon probably. So whatever you're wearing that day is perfectly fine. So I think that takes care of everything that I can think of. Larry, is there something that perhaps I've not taken care of, or maybe made you wonder what I was talking about that you'd like to clarify?
No, Paula, I don't have a single suggestion of another point that we need to cover at this time.
Okay, great. As Larry mentioned earlier, you will be getting a memo very shortly that is going to have information, last-minute information. I think it's usually about a week before you leave. So please, after you've had an opportunity to watch this presentation, call us so that we can answer any questions that you have. You can always reach us at answers@travelpleasegoaway.com, or you can also call us if you have questions, and that number is 1-800-362-9347. Again, thank you very much for going away with us.